Welcome to So Very Easy. My name is Laura, and a lot of us wear these, but when they're not on this, we need to put them somewhere. So let's put them somewhere which is spectacular. And if we need to store those glasses, we can store them in a case that we have made ourselves. This is an embroidery file by OESD, and it has 6 different glass cases. And the 6 are really fun. I have already made one, so there is fleece inside, so they're nice and soft, so our glasses are going to be protected. So the next one I want to make will be this one. I'm going to be using these daisies as the outside and the pink for the inside. And for those lenses, I'm going to be using some Luxe vinyl. So I've chosen a Luxe vinyl that has some sparkle in it. So it's going to be a lot of fun to work with. And this really does embroider well. It washes well, and you can iron it. So the case is going to be quilted. So I'm going to be using a gold from Isocore, and I do want that red heart. And instead of stabilizer this time, we are going to be using a fleece. So this is a lightweight fusible fleece, and it's called Fuse and Fleece. So the one side is fusible, which makes it nice to work with. Now I would recommend for this project a 7511 embroidery needle. I also recommend some bobbin thread. Now I take this bobbin thread and I put it in the bobbin, but I also do my basting stitches with it. It's very, very fine, so it doesn't leave any bulk at all. So I'm going to put this in my top thread, this in my bobbin, until I need to get into my colors. So when we get these files, we are going to have 2 files per pattern. We have the back and we have the front. It is important that we make this back piece first. And it is a little bit bigger than the front. But as we are finishing up the front, we're going to take that back and flip it on. So be sure to do your back first. So I'm going to go to the machine and I'm going to base this and get it ready to go. But there is one thing that I am going to change in the directions. And that little change you will not notice, but it'll save bulk when we get to those seam allowances. So the first thing we're going to do is hoop 1 layer of this Fuse and Fleece with the shiny side down, which means this is the glue side is going to be underneath. We're going to put that in the machine and we're going to be working on the back. The first stitch we are going to do is going to be a placement. And this is the bobbin thread I'm using on top and the bobbin. Now once this placement line is done, they tell us to put another piece of this fleece 6 inches by 10 inches over top, and then the fashion fabric over top. So it's going to do a tack down line and quilting. But this is going to give us a lot in that seam allowance. So I recommend cutting it just a little bit smaller than this inside measurement. So it's going to be a 1/4 inch smaller all the way around. Having this a little smaller means we're not going to have as much there in the seam allowance. We just need to be really careful when we put on that top fabric. I'll put that fabric on top and tape it down. Now as I do my next stitches, the fabric is going to hold that extra piece of fleece down for me. And for this, I'm still going to use that fine bobbin thread. Now that that tack line and the cut line are done, I changed the thread to match this yellow, and the next they're going to quilt it for me. Once that grid quilting is done, we are going to be able to put our lining fabric in. So the lining fabric is going to be touching so that they're right sides. That is all we're going to need for that backing. We're going to be able to take this off and trim it. So let's work on the front now. To start the front, it is going to be very similar to the back. We're going to start with that placement line. And I did change my thread, so it was that nice thin bobbin thread. Now that that placement line's done, it recommends another piece of fleece. I, once again, am going to make it so it fits within that measurement. I've taped that top fabric on, and I've peeked inside to make sure that it did not move. Now I can tack that down using that bobbin thread. I now have changed the top thread to my embroidery thread, and it's going to quilt my fabric for me. The next stitching is going to be the placement for my vinyl. So I'm going to do that next, and then I'm going to take it off, trim it, and place my vinyl. We do have those shapes if we'd like to take advantage of them. You can see that that little heart is right here. Now I'm going to use this luxe vinyl, and I'm going to treat it just like fabric. And I'm going to fuse right on the back, and then I have those shapes. I could take that back off, place them where I need them to go, and iron them on. This is a fusible fleece, and the fuse is on the bottom, so be sure to use some type of a non-stick pad. Iron and bring it back to the machine. I've changed my thread to the red, which is what I'm going to use for the rest of it. The vinyl really did stitch up beautifully. Now we're going to do a placement line. Now you could change the thread, but I will leave it in the red so you can see it. This placement line is where the back is now going to go on. So leave this on the machine and we'll go get the back. So this was the back. We did that quilting and we did one row of stitching here. We need to trim a little bit here and trim down. Once we have that little seam allowance there, we're going to be able to take that, fold it over, and fuse it down. This part of that fleece is the fusible, so it's going to hold it all together for us. That last row of stitching is a placement line. So we're going to be able to match up the right sides, and that fold will go along those inside lines. Take a peek and make sure that the back is lined up as well, and then tape that down. And we're going to tack those together. So you can see why it is important we do that back of the eyeglass case first. Now we're going to put on the lining for the front, and it goes right over top. And the machine work is done. Let's finish it. I did trim this so there was about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I did roll those edges, and I did make sure that I did not cut off that little point, but right in those corners I trimmed really close to those threads. Now I'm going to be able to turn this right side out, and there's only one place we can do that turning. Once we've turned that all right side out, we're going to have both of the linings showing. We could hand stitch this in, but we could also use that fuse and seal. Just fuse a little piece there, peel that off, and then when we tuck that in, give it an extra press, it's going to seal it for us. That fleece is fusible in that side, so when you press it, it is going to fuse together. So you'll need to just separate those little areas, just enough to tuck this in and let that fuse and seal work. So it looks nice from the inside. Now we can turn this out. My eyeglass case is now done. It looks nice from both sides. It is completely lined with finished seams inside. It has a beautiful sparkle because of that luxe vinyl. It really does sew as easy as fabric. And now I have a nice padded container for my glasses. So I have two Spec-Tacular cases ready to go. They're a good size, they're nice and padded, and they were fun. I'll put a link in the description to the OESD file, and we have partnered up. So they have a discount code for you for a limited time in the description box. So be sure to check that out, and any of the products that I used, you also get a discount. I hope that helps you out. And as always, thank you for joining me today on So Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I have a newsletter. It's all free under So Very Easy. And be sure to make every day a spectacular day. Bye now.